All right, then, Econ friends, welcome back. So in our last video, we dissected the monopoly's profit maximizing decisions, and we know all the steps to determine how much they make, what price they charge, if they have a profit. So now that you understand that, you get to a really critical step in your study of monopoly. And that is answering a really important question. How does monopoly compare to PC? Specifically in terms of economic efficiency and social welfare. Okay, we had said when we first started introducing market structure that ultimately one of your tasks was going to be to determine of the four market structures which ones or which one is best for society in the sense of economic efficiency, in the sense of social welfare, in the sense of making more people better off. Is there an optimal, a better structure? So whenever we move through new structures, we have to compare that to PC. I want to make sure that we recap that when we did PC, we had said that PC was efficient. You might recall that we looked at PC at long run equilibrium, and we determined that total surplus was maximized. In other words, we said that there was no dead weight loss. We also said that allocative efficiency, spell that right. We said that allocative efficiency was achieved, and we said that productive efficiency was achieved. So when we looked at the PC model at long run equilibrium, we concluded this is a socially efficient model. This is a good market structure. It maximized total surplus. There was no dead weight loss. It satisfied allocated efficiency, and it satisfied productive efficiency. We had 3 tests, and we said that PC scored a 3 out of 3. Now, let's look at Monopoly and see how they score. And the end is really Monopoly's score not so good. In comparison to PC, it's not optimal. Let's dissect why. First big takeaway is this. In general, monopolies generate higher prices and lower output than would exist under perfect competition. So just straight away, we know that monopolies tend to charge more and produce less in comparison to perfect competition. And as a result of that, we will say that monopolies generate dead weight loss. So right away, 0 for 1. Take a look here at this chart. In panel A, we've done a somewhat simplified chart. You see that we have a downward sloping demand curve here, and we have the downward sloping MR underneath it there. To simplify this model, we drew the marginal cost curve perfectly flat. It's okay to do that. Doesn't change the analysis. Let's take a look at this. Remember that for a perfectly competitive firm, the demand curve was equal to the marginal revenue. So this demand curve here is equal to the PC's marginal revenue. Let's do PC in blue, and then we'll do color contrast. So for PC, they set marginal revenue equal to marginal cost. So the PC produces here. This is the competitive equilibrium. And if you drop a line down, this is the competitive output level. We'll call it QC. And you drop a line across, and this is the competitive price. So these values in blue represent the PC equilibrium, output level, and price. Let's now go to red and look at monopoly. Well, we just did that before. We know that for the monopoly, MR equals MC right here. We drop it down, and there's their quantity. We take it up and over, and there's their price. And the takeaway from this graph is pretty clear. When you compare monopoly and PC, the monopolist will charge more and produce less. What does this mean at the end? Well, this means in the end that you're going to have a dead weight loss. To understand why, let's go back and analyze this as if it were strictly PC. You would have your demand curve here. You'd have your price here. So this whole triangle here would be all consumer surplus. Not bad. When you go to PC, the consumer surplus falls. Here's your demand curve. Here's your price. So this triangle is consumer surplus, but the monopoly gets some profit. That would be producer surplus, which would be this triangle here. And we have this leftover triangle here, dead weight loss. You also know from your analysis that dead weight loss is the difference between what could be produced and what actually is produced. So this triangle here is dead weight loss. You see it here, nice and clean and clear. The dead weight loss, panel A represents consumer surplus. Panel B represents producer surplus, AKA their profits. Note, by the way, that the presence of profits is not a bad thing, okay? The issue with monopoly is not that the monopolist makes profits, because if you think about it, the monopoly's profits simply become income to somebody else. So that's okay. The issue is that the monopoly underproduces. And that leads us to this big triangle called dead weight loss. So our first test, does the monopolist maximize total surplus? No, the monopolist produces dead weight loss. They're 0 for 1. Okay, again, just to reiterate, I want to note that the dead weight loss does not occur because of the profits. Okay, the profits aren't the bad thing here, because profits just become income for other people. So that's okay. The issue is that the high prices that the monopoly charges, they reduce output, in turn generating a loss in consumer surplus. And it's that loss in consumer surplus, it's this underproduction here, that is the dead weight loss, okay? In addition to this problem, we can also conclude that monopolies do not achieve either allocative efficiency or productive efficiency. That was test 2 and test 3. Does the market exhibit allocative efficiency? Does the market exhibit productive efficiency? By way of a reminder, you'll recall that allocative efficiency is when P equals MC, and productive efficiency is when ATC is minimized, okay? We saw over here last time that in perfect competition, we achieved that. We have long run equilibrium at this point here, generating this price and this Q, and this magic point where the ATC curve, the MC curve, and the demand curve all intersect, implied that for the PC firm, P equaled MC, and we also charged a price that equaled the minimum ATC. They satisfied both of those efficiency requirements. But jump over here, and you can see that monopoly doesn't. Okay, let's dissect monopoly in red. We see that the monopolist sets marginal revenue equal to marginal cost here. This gives us its Q. Note that this right here is the MC. We took the MC, we hit it here. This is the marginal cost. If we go up, 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 and over, we see that the monopolist sets price greater than marginal cost. Violation. Additionally, we know, let's clean this up a little bit. Additionally, we know, again, MR equals MC here. So this is the Q. We go up. This is the price. We know that ATC is minimized right here. Remember that ATC, the U-shaped curve, is minimized where it intersects MC. This right here is the minimum ATC. The monopoly does not produce there. Therefore, the monopoly does not produce at the minimum ATC. And therefore, our two metrics, allocative, it fails it. Productive, it fails it. Total surplus, it failed it. So the monopoly is 0 for 3. We would say that compared to PC, it is not socially efficient. And my friends, it gets even worse because monopolies also create inefficiencies in the form of a behavior that we call in economics rent seeking. Rent seeking behavior refers to when monopolies engage in political activities, especially government lobbying and influencing regulations. Okay, monopolies take their big war chest of cash and they deploy lobbyists in order to influence public policy to give the monopoly additional barriers to entry or subsidies or some other special privilege. So not only do monopolies violate the total surplus and the allocated efficiency and the productive efficiency, but monopolies engage in rent-seeking behavior. They actively try to influence the political process, often through lobbying, in an effort to have government create even more barriers to entry to insulate themselves even more, or to get subsidies, or to generate any other kind of special privilege. Okay? Economists consider rent seeking to be extraordinarily inefficient and bad, in part because it maintains the monopoly and therefore helps maintain the inefficiencies, but even more so because rent seeking imposes really strong opportunity costs on society. You have to think that when the monopoly uses all these resources to do rent seeking, those resources could have been used for other alternative, more productive endeavors, creating new products, finding ways to hire more workers. There's lots of things that the monopoly could have used those resources for. By directing resources to rent seeking, there's an opportunity cost involved because that monopoly can no longer use those resources to do other things that would have benefited society. Okay? Now, we conclude by saying that monopolies in comparison to PC are inefficient. They violate total surplus, violate allocative, violate productive, and they do rent seeking. All in all, not good. However, a part of being a good economic thinker, you remember, is being open and honest about cost and benefit. And therefore, I do want to leave you with one takeaway that favors monopoly structures. And that is this. Yes, monopolies do lead to economic inefficiency. But because monopolies are typically profitable, and because monopolies therefore typically have lots of cash, monopolies oftentimes have both the resources and the incentives to invest in and generate significant innovation. If you really think about it, a PC firm, which you know has long-run profits of zero, really has no capacity to engage in significant research or innovation. They don't have any money. They don't have any profit. Or they have normal profit. They have no excess of cash. Monopolies have both the incentive and the resources to invest. And in fact, lots of economists acknowledge that the bulk of our innovations in society today, from new technologies to better pharmaceutical drugs to help people live longer and everything in between, lots of those innovations stem from firms with market power. As always, my friends, it's up to you as informed citizens and as good economic thinkers to do the analysis and to weigh the costs and the benefits. With that said, you now know how monopolies operate, and you can make smart comparisons between those monopoly operations and PC operations. Well done. See you next time.